Hey guys, I'm Karlyn Borysenko. I'm an analyst and independent journalist covering the radical revolutionary far left in America. You can find my work over on Substack at Karlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com. And I want to ask you guys all a question, because what I tend to hear from the right when they're talking about the left is, well, who funds it? Who funds it? Who funds it? Where does the money come from? We know where the funding comes from. It comes from this. It comes from that. It comes from the other. The money comes from China. The money comes from Russia. The money comes from Soros. The money comes from USAID. The money comes from NGOs. Where's the funding? Where's the funding? Where's the funding? Can I offer a thought? Does it really fucking matter? Honestly, when has knowing where the money is coming from ever actually made a difference? When has anything ever been done with that information? You want me to tell you where the money is coming from with some of the most active far left groups in America today? I'll tell you exactly how they're funded. Antifa is almost entirely self-funded by mutual aids. They are not funded by Soros or USAID or any of these other things. The Party for Socialism and Liberation is the only major leftist unit that I know of right now that is actually getting money from the CCP, and that I've seen evidence to that effect. So yes, some of their money is coming from China. However, we're talking about the national branch with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. We're not actually talking about the local branches, because there are many dedicated activists within the Party for Socialism and Liberation that are doing it all for free in the local branches, complaining about how they don't have any money. The Revolutionary Communists of America collect money through membership dues. They charge their members 1 to 2 months. Okay, so how they do it is one or 2 days salary per month in dues. And so you get to volunteer that information, and some people can say, I don't have the money to support this right now. But the point being is that they're funded by membership dues. They're also funded by voluntary donations, event ticket sales, and book publishing. Party for Socialism and Liberation also has a book publishing arm, by the way. You look at something like Haymarket Books, which is hosting the Socialism Conference coming up this weekend. Massive event. Haymarket Books is a book publishing company. It's the largest socialist book publishing company in the United States. Their books are literally used in colleges all over the United States. That is where they get their money. They also do events like the Socialism Conference. They do online stuff. They do, things that people can sign up for. They sell merchandise. I have some of their merchandise. I've worn some of it on stream. The Democratic Socialists of America collect money via membership dues. Most of these organizations, by the way, are not funded by George Soros or now his son Alex, I guess. They fund progressives. They don't fund radical revolutionary causes. And I could probably go on and on and on and on and on. But the reality is that the vast majority of far left activism are people doing it because they want to do it for free, because this is who they are. This is their passion. This is their identity. This is their social circle. They do activism together. But the vast majority of money that they do have is self-funded via mutual aid networks, via dues, via voluntary donations, and if they're getting really spicy about it, they're doing event ticket sales, they're doing trainings that people can sign up for and pay money for, they're selling merchandise, stuff like that. Even if you go to a socialism conference or like a revolutionary conference and there are people with tables set up, they even usually charge you like $1 or $2 just to get a pamphlet from them. They charge you for like just the basic stuff, because that's how not funded they are. So that now that you know the funding source of major activist groups in the United States today, does that actually matter? What are you going to do with that information? I would argue that complaining about the funding, and I'm not saying the funding is completely unimportant. It's always important to know where this stuff is coming from. But I would argue that it's one of the least important questions that we could be asking right now. Because just because you know where the money's coming from, or you think you know where the money's coming from, and most of the time you get that wrong, by the way, does that slow them down? Does that stop them from doing anything? Does that stop any of these activist groups? Does that cancel any of their events? Does that slow down their recruiting? What are you actually doing with the funding information? Even when you know the funding information, nothing gets done about it. How much were conservatives complaining, including sitting members of Congress. How much were they complaining about the Party for Socialism and Liberation's funding source? What was it, like a month ago? Did anything ever get done about it? No. Is the Party for Socialism and Liberation still active today? Yes. Are all the affiliated organizations still active today? Yes. Did they slow down at all? No. So guess what? Nothing happened. And every single time the funding is brought up, it is used to deflect from actually understanding what these people are doing and actually putting together a pragmatic strategy to solve the problem. So while I understand that you guys like to put your, high five each other over, we know where the funding is, we know where the funding is, we know where the funding is, even though you don't actually most of the time. I understand it feels really good. You feel like you own the libs. You feel like you expose them in some way, but nothing actually changes from it. In fact, they just get worse while you guys are high-fiving each other saying, hey, we got the libs, bro. So can we please stop? Can we please stop with the funding stuff? It's not that we ignore it entirely. We always want to know where their money is coming from. Of course we want that. But we also want to be hinged into reality of the situation. And if you are unwilling to do anything about their funding sources, even if you can do something about it, because again, most of these groups are actually self-funded. They're not funded from China. They're not funded from USAID. They're not funded from NGOs. They're not funded from Soros. Very, 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 very few activists are actually receiving funding from those sources. Like we're talking, and I think I'm gonna be generous and say maybe 10%. Maybe. And I think that's a really generous number. I actually think it's less than 5%, like if I'm being realistic. But I'll be generous and say I think a high watermark is 10% of far left activists are getting funded by the places you guys think they're getting funded by. The rest of them are doing it for free. They're doing it in their spare time. They're doing it because they want to do it. They're doing it because they believe in this. They're doing it because it's their social system. We are not going to defeat them by knowing who is funding them. So yeah, have the information, but then can we move beyond that and actually have an actual conversation about how to beat the left? Maybe. Am I asking too much? Am I asking too much? Probably. If I'm being honest, yeah, probably. All right, well, those are my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, if you want to find my work, I'm Karlyn Borysenko. You can find my Substack at Karlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com. If you feel like supporting me, I am 100% supported by people just like you, grassroots funded. I have no political masters. I have no political narrative that I need to adhere to. You can sign up on the Substack for $8 a month, $80 a year. I would really appreciate it. Make sure you come join me for a live stream on my YouTube channel or Rumble or X or Kick starting at around 5 p.m. today, and most days, actually Monday through Friday. We do Socialism Saturday on Saturdays at 6 p.m. And we got a lot of great coverage this week with the Socialism Conference, so make sure you stop by and you can actually hear from the radical left and they'll tell you where they're getting their money. You don't have to question it. And then you can actually learn about their plans and then maybe do something about that instead. All right, guys, I'll see you soon.